I got Crohn's when I was 15. The answer to my immune system attacking itself was just to fucking nuke my immune system. So it's a little annoying. It's unfortunate. I'm stuck with it. What can you do? Blows my mind that there's no cure. Millions of people in America, I'm pretty sure, have it. So I don't understand why there's not a better way to treat it.
100% Crohn's goes away on a carnivore diet. I've yet to see it not go away. I have seen this in hundreds of people personally now. And like you look on the different Facebook groups, the autoimmune groups that try carnivore, there's literally thousands to tens of thousands of people around the world that are doing this and talking about it and going over it. There was a Harvard study looking at different, over 2,000 people tried carnivore and say like, what were your health effects? And, nearly everyone improved it in some way. In fact, I think it was like actually everyone improved dramatically in different health markers. And a lot of those things were diabetes and autoimmune diseases, especially. So there's a number of studies with Crohn's disease specifically that show the effects that food have on the disease. And these studies found that on a full elimination diet, elemental diet, that this was a better treatment for an acute flare-up of Crohn's disease than prednisolone or prednisone, like these hardcore steroids that will just stop almost any autoimmune issue in their tracks, right? But it has a lot of side effects, and this is it's not safe to be on these things long term. But to get something out of an acute flare-up where it's really, really bad, you really just smash down the immune system. And then there's another study that looked at compared to groups, was a randomized control trial looking at eliminating out carbohydrates and fiber. You don't have too much after that. It's basically you're just eating meat and fat at that point. There's not too many plants that you can eat that don't have carbs and don't have fiber, right? But anyway, so you just, however you want to do it, you eliminate out carbs and fiber. And then contrasted that with a group that did not eliminate carbs and fiber. And they found that the group that eliminated carbs and fiber stayed in remission of their Crohn's disease, specifically Crohn's disease, stayed in remission on average 51 months, right? So that's over 4 years that they stayed in remission on average. And then contrast that with the control group that did not change their diet, just kept eating carbs and fiber. They stayed in remission on average 0 months. So big difference there. And that shows very clearly that there is something in those carbs and that fiber or whatever contain the carbs and fiber that is causing Crohn's disease, because it's not a disease. It's an environmental exposure. And this is a poisoning sort of scenario. And the most important thing you do with toxic exposure is you remove the exposure. You try to let the body heal after that, maybe use medicines or whatever to facilitate that. But first and foremost, you remove the exposure. And we're not doing that. All we're doing is treating symptoms and just sort of trying to mitigate this problem. And that is not going to address the core issue. That's never going to cure anyone. That's never going to get anyone better. And so I think we really need to just revamp how we look at medicine and approach these diseases as doctors. But what we're coming to understand now is that it's actually your body is attacking something in the food that you're eating, that through different sort of damage in your gut, so sometimes called leaky gut, that these are sort of slipping through, getting to your body attacks them, make these antibodies, and then people have what's called molecular mimicry. And those antibodies towards whatever it's attacking are similar enough to parts of your own body that there's a spillover effect and it starts attacking your own body. It was originally thought that this then sensitized your body to attack itself, and then your body started making more and more antibodies towards yourself. But I don't think that's the case, because when you eliminate out these foods, the antibody levels just go down. And I see this in my practice. Outside of neurosurgery, I have a private practice in functional medicine, metabolic health, and we track people's autoimmune issues, and we track many different sorts of issues, and you can actually measure the antibodies for various things, say Hashimoto's, and then you sort of remove out these foods, you put them on a strict elimination diet, like a carnivore diet, and people with autoimmune issues have to be more strict than others. You just meat and water, usually just red meat and water. And we notice that their antibodies track down and their thyroid function improves, or they stop having these loose motions, they stop having this bloody diarrhea, they stop having all these symptoms of their autoimmune issues. So it's a very, very, very devastating illness. if you actually look in the medical literature, we've been treating rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's and ulcerative colitis and gout and a lot of other things since the 1800s with a pure red meat and water diet. This is where the Salisbury steak came from. It's like a bunless hamburger. I always thought it was from Salisbury, England, like a place name. But it's actually named after Dr. J.H. Salisbury, who was a New York doctor in the 1800s and did a 30-year research project into the optimal nutrition for human beings. So he just found that people were eating more, vegetables and grains and fruits and things like that. They were just getting diseases other people simply weren't, and that you could eliminate them and actually cure them by putting them on a pure red meat and water diet, beef for preference, lamb for as a distant second preference. And he found that you could actually do this. He was curing rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's and ulcerative colitis and other sorts of issues 100 years before any sort of effective medications were around. And this actually went on for a long time. There's a book as recently as 1975 by a gastroenterologist. It was called The Stone Age Diet. And he basically argued that humans are carnivores. This is the kind of animal that we are. And that the modern, diseases, these chronic diseases, are from eating outside of that. And he argued, he was a gastroenterologist, he argued that basically if you don't eat plants, that his profession didn't need to exist. As a gastroenterologist, these things just go away. And then in 1977, the USDA declared that cholesterol causes heart disease, saturated fat increases cholesterol, therefore meat's bad, therefore fat's bad, fat's bad, therefore meat's bad, therefore eggs are bad. And 100 years of scientific research and medical research just went right out the window. And we're in the state that we are now with all of these diseases tripling, quintupling, sextupling, or more. And it's just getting worse. So we need to rediscover that and understand what's underlying it.